The UFC has made some huge fight announcements within the last week, so in today's video, we're going to talk about all the new fights, some main events, some fun fights, some fights that are a little bit of weird matchmaking. We're going to get into all of it. I'm going to give my prediction. I'm going to talk about the fights, talk about the card that they're on, if it's a good placement or not, what I would do to fix it. But before we go ahead and get into the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's get it started with the first fight announcement of Sean Brady versus Joaquin Buckley, April 25th in the Meta Apex. Big shocker. Of course, it's in the Apex. This is a great fight. This is a great fight. I'm going to say it off the rip. This is a very, very good fight. Both guys are coming off of losses where they were pushing to get to the top of their division, the welterweight division. They were just one fight away from cracking that very top position. If Brady had beat Michael Morales, he would be fighting for the belt right now. He would be fighting Islam Makhachev for the belt right now. Make that make sense. And now he's fighting down. He's fighting Joaquin Buckley, who was fighting Kamaru Usman, who is a former champ, one of the greatest welterweights of all time. If he had won that fight, he would have been right there in the top 5, ready for a title eliminator fight. So this is kind of both of these guys coming off of losses, facing each other. Who's going to get a bounce back? I love it. I think it's a great fight. I think it's a great stylistic matchup for both guys. We're going to see if Brady can out-grapple Buckley or if Buckley can just bomb Brady out cold. We'll see what happens, but I really like this matchup. I think this is a great fight. I love the matchmaking here. This is great matchmaking. This is what we need to see. I just hate that this is in the Apex. I got to be honest. I hate that this is in the Apex. I get that they've evolved and expanded the Meta Apex. It's a lot bigger. It actually feels like a crowd. I watched an interview with Mario Batista the other day, and he was talking about how it feels like you have a crowd there. So that is a good part about it. It does feel like it's a bit bigger. When you're looking on the screen, when you're watching it live, it actually looks like there's a bit of a crowd there. It actually sounds like there's a crowd there, and it is better. It definitely is better, but it doesn't eliminate the fact that it's much better when the UFC goes to different places, when they go back to places where they haven't been before, where they haven't been in a very long time. So I do think this should be a live Fight Night main event. It's a great fight, but it is a good matchmaking. It is good matchmaking, and it is a good fight, so I don't mind it being in the Apex. I think if we were to fix this fight, the only thing you could do is just make this a live Fight Night main event where it's in one state in the U.S. or something. They could put this in New Jersey or anything like that, and it would probably be better. But this is a great fight night. I love this fight, and as an early prediction, I think I'm going to go with Brady. I think I'm going to go with Sean Brady. I do think that Buckley is very, very good, very powerful, very dangerous, and if Sean Brady doesn't defend himself properly, I could see Buckley putting him out. But we just saw Buckley really, really struggle against Kamaru Usman, who is one of the best welterweights of all time, who does have really high-level wrestling, but so does Sean Brady. And Sean Brady was fighting a very long, lengthy Michael Morales in his last fight. This is a good stylistic matchup for him. He's fighting a guy who's relatively his size, who has big power, who has lacking wrestling, and I think Brady can expose him. So give me Sean Brady as the early prediction. I'm going to say he wins the decision here, but I think this is going to be a very fun, competitive fight. Lots of scrambles. I think Buckley's going to have improved his takedown defense, and I think this is going to be a good fight, but give me Brady as an early prediction. We'll talk about the next fight, though, that was announced recently. Moicano versus Duncan in the Apex as well. Not the same card. April 4th, Renato Moicano versus Chris Duncan, main event. Very unexpected. I didn't see this one coming. I saw Moicano. I thought he was going to fight on UFC 326. I thought he was going to get a replacement. I thought he would maybe be fighting Duncan on that card, or he'd be fighting, what's his name? The Argentinian guy. You guys know who I'm talking about. But Moicano is fighting Chris Duncan April 4th in the Meta Apex as a main event. Very unexpected. Again, it's in the Apex. You know, it's not a terrible main event, but Duncan's not ranked. We can't get 2 top 15 guys in the main event. It's unfortunate, but it is a good matchup. I think Duncan deserves the step up. He deserves the ranking, and Moicano needs to defend his spot. But I would have liked to see this as a co-main to Sean Brady versus Buckley. Why couldn't we have done that? Why couldn't we have done this as the co-main to Brady versus Buckley? Why not? Why not, UFC? We can't put 2 good fights back-to-back in the Apex. No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. We have to have Tabitha Ritchie versus Verna Jandiroba Chiwiwis as the co-main to this fight. Oh, and to Brady versus Buckley, what's the co-main? What is it? It's Yana Santos versus Norma Dumont. What? Why? Like, why? I just don't understand why the UFC has... Oh, yeah. Okay, so guaranteed co-main is going to be a women's top 5 co-main. And then the main event's going to be, low-ranked men's welterweight or lightweight. That's literally the structure that they just follow every time. We can't get Buckley, Sean Brady main event, Duncan versus Moicano co-main, and like a banger feature fight. in like the middleweight division or like the light heavyweight division. Why can't we do that in the Apex? I don't get it, but this is a good main event. As an Apex main event, I mean, we've had worse. We've had worse. I'm just going to say it as it is. At this point, I'm not shocked when I see a Apex main event like this, but I'm going to go with Chris Duncan to win this fight. I do think Moicano can definitely win this. Everybody's calling him washed. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a scrappy win here and, he finished Chris Duncan. I would not be shocked if he subbed him. But I'm going to say Chris Duncan gets a submission here. I think it's going to be a submission one way or the other. I mean, it's a great fight. It's a really, really fun fight. I just think Chris Duncan's momentum right now is a bit too much for Renato Moicano. I also think he just doesn't give a shit. I don't think he cares. I think Moicano just doesn't care. He's doing his podcast. He's doing his other things. He made big money from that short notice step up against Islam Makhachev. And since he got big money, he doesn't need money anymore. Moicano doesn't need money no more. So I'm going to go with Chris Duncan. He's more motivated. He's still fighting to get to the top. He's hungry. He wants a Scotland main event, and here he's going to get ranked. So he could get a Scotland fight night for the UFC to go back to Scotland if he wins this fight. So I'm sure there's a lot of motivation with this one. These guys also used to train together, so I know that they're comfortable with each other. But I'm going to go with Chris Duncan to win this fight as the early prediction, probably by submission, maybe a ground and pound TKO. I could see it happening. But I'm going to go Chris Duncan. We're going to move on to the next fight to talk about that was announced. Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Taira at UFC 327. Great fight. I don't know if this is the main event or the co-main. They haven't really announced it yet. I do think this will most likely be the co-main because I really do believe it's going to be Yuri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg main eventing for the undisputed light heavyweight title is being vacated. It's being vacated. Pereira is vacating. He's going to be fighting Gane either at the White House or at UFC 328. It's almost confirmed, almost guaranteed, and that's my prediction at least. So I think this is a great fight. It's going to be the co-main event in my opinion, and I think Joshua Van wins this fight. I think he does. I think everybody's going to be picking Tatsuro Taira. I faded Joshua Van big time, and I have still hated on him for the way that he beat Pantoja because I don't think he's the well-deserved champ. But, big but, he did win that fight, and it happens. Injuries do happen, and at the end of the day, Pantoja's going to be back. He's going to get this chance immediately. He deserves it. Joshua Van said he's going to get that chance immediately, but in the meantime, Joshua Van loves to be active, and people are complaining about the fact that he just wants to fight. He's been fighting with the UFC about finding a fight. Give me a fight, because this dude, if you remember, he fought 3 times in like a 5-month span. He fought at UFC 317. He fought at that fight night. He fought at that UFC 313. Like, he was fighting at every card. He was fighting so much, and he continues to want to be active. He's young. He's hungry. He's only 23 or 24 or something. So is Taira. This is probably like the youngest title fight of all time, I'm pretty sure, honestly. But I'm going to go with Joshua Van to win this fight because I think everybody believes that Taira's just going to out-grapple him and sub him immediately. But people don't realize how good Joshua Van's takedown defense is. And he's been realizing that I'm going to have to fight somebody who's just going to try and take me down at flyweight. It's either going to be Pantoja, or it's going to be Taira, or it's going to be, Brandon Royval, who he beat in a very scrappy fight. And Taira lost to Brandon Royval. People fucking forget Taira lost to Brandon Royval. Now, I know that was a 5-round, and Van fought him for 3, but Van was piecing him up, and he was dropping him. And Brandon Royval was out-scrambling Taira and hurting him in moments and piecing him up a little bit. Jabbing him to the face, and Van's jab is really good. His boxing is really, really good. So I think everybody's overlooking the fact that Van has amazing takedown defense. He's super young. He's very experienced with who he's fought right now. He's been much more active than Taira, and I think he can defend the takedowns and outbox Tatsuro Taira for 5 rounds. So give me Joshua Van to win this fight by decision. Scrappy decision, very close fight. I think Tatsuro Taira can get takedowns. Don't get me wrong. He's guaranteed going to get at least a couple takedowns. But I think Joshua Van is just going to do more damage, keep it on the feet, piece him up in moments, beat him up. We saw Tatsuro Taira wear the damage against Brandon Royval. And that was Brandon Royval who wore brutal damage against Joshua Van. So I think Joshua Van is going to put hands on Tatsuro Taira and get his hand raised by decision. 5-round main event. Or co-main event. It's a great fight for the flyweight title. And I think once Van wins this, we're going to see Van versus Cap, or we're going to see Van versus Pantoja. There's great options at flyweight right now, and I think Tatsuro Taira will be champ eventually, but just not right now. It's not a good matchup for him. I think it's a better matchup if he fights Pantoja, but I'm going to go with Van to win this fight by decision. It's a great co-main event, and I think the main event will be Yuri versus Ulberg. It better be, at least. That would be a great main event. We're going to move on, though, to the final fight that I want to talk about, the final main event I want to talk about, and in my opinion, the most disappointing one. And as a Canadian fan, I'm disappointed by this main event. I am disappointed by this main event because I love Mike Malott, all right? You know I'm a Maple Militia fan, boys. I've gone to the last 2 Mike Malott fights, and I've watched them both live. When he chinned Charles Radke, I was there live in Montreal. Banger. Absolutely nasty knockout by Mike Malott. Insane. And then he fights Kevin Holland in Vancouver, and I'm there live, and I'm cheering him on, and I'm freaking, going crazy, and he wins that fight. It was a close decision, but he clearly won that. Kevin Holland was fucking arguing about his cup shot and all this, and he's complaining and crying and whining, but Mike Malott won that fight clear as day, and now he's fighting Gilbert Burns, and we predicted this. I predicted this fight to be on this card, but I just didn't see this being the main event. And no hate to either dude, because I think both fighters are great, but this should be a co-main event. This is not a live Fight Night main event level fight. It's not. Mike Malott's not ranked. He should be because he beat number 15 Kevin Holland, but then Kevin Holland fell out of the rankings after losing, and then Mike Malott fell out with him. Even though Mike should be ranked number 15, he's not. So it's an unranked versus a number 11 40-year-old Gilbert Burns in the main event. It's disappointing. And the UFC is going back to Winnipeg. The first time they're back in Winnipeg in over 9 years, and this is the main event, It's the first time a Canadian has main evented is in like 5 years. It's great to see, but it's a disappointing main event in my opinion. As a Canadian, I'm going to be honest with that because I love Mike Malott. He's one of my favorite Canadian fighters, probably my favorite Canadian fighter right now, and I do think he's got a very high ceiling in this welterweight division. I think he beats Gilbert Burns, and I'm going to predict Mike Malott to win this fight, but I don't understand why this is the main event. This was always supposed to be a co-main to a main event of maybe Amin Zahabi versus Corey Sandhagen, or maybe Brendan Allen versus Dricus du Plessis. Why is this the main event? I'm disappointed with this one. I'm going to go with Mike Malott to win this fight. It's in Winnipeg. It was scheduled to be in Ottawa, and then the UFC said, nah, we're going to go to Winnipeg. So I was going to go to Ottawa. I was ready to go. I was going to go, and I thought the main event was going to be better, but now it's in Winnipeg. I don't know if I'm going to attend this one, to be honest. I've attended the past 2 Canadian cards. Didn't go to Edmonton because that fight card was absolute trash with Brandon Moreno and Amir Albazi in the main event, but the last 2 Canadian cards have been good. We had JDM versus Bilal, main event. And then we had Rainer de Ritter versus Brendan Allen, main event. Pretty solid Fight Night main event with the co-main of Mike and Kevin Holland and the feature fight of Amin Zahabi versus Chito Vera. Now it seems like it's downgrading again, it's unfortunate because I felt like we were on a bit of an uphill climb as Canadian fans, Canadian MMA fans, and Canadian UFC fans. And now we get this, man. It's kind of just a kick in the face or a kick in the ass, man. So I'm going to go with Mike Malott to win this fight. I'm not really happy about this being a main event. I just think Gilbert Burns is too old for Mike Malott. I think he slowed down a lot. We saw it against Michael Morales. We saw it against Jack Della Maddalena. We've seen it time and time again against Sean Brady. He just really couldn't do anything. And I do think Mike Malott's got good enough grappling to keep this on the feet, stuff the takedowns, get takedowns of his own, and just outbox Gilbert Burns. He's the bigger, stronger, more physical welterweight between the two of them. The only thing that worries me is his cardio. We've yet to see him in a 5-round main event, but Gilbert Burns being 40 years old doesn't really help a 5-round main event, So I'm going to go with Mike Malott to win this fight. And I'm going to say he wins this fight by TKO, late TKO. I'm going to say round 3, round 4, Gilbert Burns is taking a lot of damage and he just can't keep going. And it's going to be a TKO, ground and pound or up against the fence. I'm going to go with Mike Malott to win this fight by finish. Obviously I'm going to be cheering for the Canadian Mike Malott. So this is a biased pick, but I got to say I'm disappointed in this main event. It should be, why can't we get a top 10 main event? I just don't understand. We see it with this fight. We see it with this fight as well. I don't really get it. But those are all of my opinions on all of these main events. They're all really solid, they're all good fights. Don't get me wrong. They're all good fights. I just think some of them are placed weirdly. I don't think this should be a main event. But it is what it is. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop it down in the comments what you guys think about all these fights, and I will catch you guys in the next video. See you.